Really has to breed a new type of person that never existed before, because people naturally want to do everything and do naturally do everything. I guess the best model for that, and probably the best model for an economy, is the small farm. I mean, the joy is in plowing and seeding and tending and carving and glazing yourself.
Yes.
And it really doesn't matter whether it's as good as you could buy, as long as it's good enough for what the situation calls for. It'll get better as you keep doing it.
Yes.
But to make specialists, I think, is to dehumanize people.
My partner Richard here has been a wonderful person in my life because he's taught himself how to do all kinds of things, and he's very self-reliant. And I, on the other hand, always flattered myself that I knew how to find the best expert whose assistance I could purchase.
That's what Harvard teaches you. You must have gone to Stanford, the Harvard of the West.
No, but something like that. And I'll tell you, at this ripe age in my life, it's been a real comeuppance to discover that I'm not so smart after all. That, in fact, I would have been a lot better off and much more secure in myself if I had learned to do things for myself and not be able to network for the best professional.
Yes.
One of my most popular programs on the air was a conversation I had with Kathleen Kenny, who's a woman out here who built her own house with her own hands.
Oh, I'd love to know her. I'd love to know her house.
Yes, it's gorgeous. It's a small house, and it's spectacularly well built and beautifully finished. And she designed it herself. It's octagonal, no less. It doesn't even have right angles in it. And she got through all the bureaucracy. She passed all the building and inspections and electrical and everything first time out.
If we just were able to broadcast that message to each other, not in a vapid or foolish way, but if we just said, nothing's very hard to do. I'll help you a little bit. And someone else help you a little bit, but you can help yourself almost all the way. Building your own house, God knows, Barbara, that's what we ought to be doing. Next to raising your own kids, what could possibly be more fulfilling, would teach you more, and then would pay you off for a more continuous length of time?
Time, private time. That is what our children need to discover who they are, to build themselves. Gatto has calculated the number of hours of private time left to the children he teaches after television and schooling devour their share. Out of the 169 hours in each week, children spend 55 hours watching television, only 1 hour less than they sleep. With the coming and going to school, with school classes and its homework, school consumes 45 hours, all under constant surveillance. If you allot 3 hours a week for evening meals, Gatto arrives at a net amount of private time for each child of 9 hours. In these 9 hours, we expect a child, in Gatto's words, to fashion a self, to create a unique consciousness. Gatto says, it's not enough, is it? The richer the kid, of course, the less television he watches. But the rich kid's time is just as narrowly proscribed by a somewhat broader catalog of commercial entertainments. And his inevitable assignment to a series of private lessons in areas seldom of his own choice. But these things are just a more cosmetic way to create dependent human beings, unable to fill their own hours, unable to initiate lines of meaning to give substance and pleasure to their existence. It's a national disease, this dependency and aimlessness, and I think schooling and television and lessons have a lot to do with it. Think of the things which are killing us as a nation. Narcotic drugs, brainless competition, recreational sex, the pornography of violence, gambling and alcohol, and the worst pornography of all, lives devoted to buying things, accumulation as a philosophy. All of them are addictions of dependent personalities, and this is what our brand of schooling must inevitably produce. You are listening to the words which John Taylor Gatto offered New York State Senators in accepting their acclaim as New York City Teacher of the Year for 1990. And how does he describe our children who emerge from their classes blinking in the sunshine? Rich or poor, school children who face the 21st century cannot concentrate on anything for very long. They have a poor sense of time past and time to come. They are mistrustful of intimacy, like the children of divorce they really are, for we have divorced them from significant parental attention. They hate solitude. They are cruel, materialistic, dependent, passive, violent, timid in the face of the unexpected, and addicted to distraction.
I think one of the things, Barbara, that we've all noticed about schooled kids, whether they're privately schooled or publicly schooled, is the vapid quality, the emptiness, the frivolity at a time when not only the world but our own nation seems to be coming unglued. The air and the water and the earth are only forgiving up to a point. They're not infinitely flexible, and we have apparently transgressed some time ago that outer limit of forgiveness. I think in the New York Times a month or so ago, in dealing with the pollution problem they have, that the figure occurred that 1 out of 6 acres in the entire Soviet Union is unlivable because of the intensity of industrial poisons of one kind or another, or radioactivity that's on the land. I mean, that's a very short slice of the historical pie to eliminate 1/6 of your territory for the indefinite future. In order to eat a lettuce from California in Manhattan, Schumacher's figure, I believe, was 85,000 calories have to be expended in raising that lettuce in California and transporting the lettuce 3,000 miles, storing it and retransporting it 3 or 4 times in the city before it reaches me. And the lettuce will yield up 80 or 100 calories. So we've been deficit spending to the point where it can't go on any longer.
Yes.
And it can't go on not because moralists will stop it. It will stop it going on itself.
Yes.
It's self-correcting.
Yes. Then what?
Well, I'm glad you say then what, because when we talk about schools, we're really talking about a small part of a very large problem. We've constructed an economy that's insane. I'm sitting here as I speak to you with a list that comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, so I assume that it's as close to something believable as we're ever going to get, a list of the 25 most common jobs that are going to occur over the next 10 years. The number of janitors that will be required over the next 10 years is 30% more than all the information and computer jobs that will be required put together. Janitor will be the commonest job in the United States by the year 2000. Then comes sales clerk, then secretary, then office clerk, then cashier, waiter, waitress, truck driver, metalwork operator, cooks and chefs, blue-collar supervisors, store managers, kitchen helpers. There's a long list of jobs, very few of which really lead to a life that anyone at the age of 10 would want. And I don't think many people at the age of 30 or 40 want them. Mm-hmm. 22.5% of all the jobs in this country are a peculiar category called guard jobs. It's better than 1 job out of 5 is guarding something.